Hello and welcome to the Ratio Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Ray, and as always, we are coming to you live from beautiful downtown Athens, Georgia. We've got an amazing show for you tonight. We have a directing trio. Mr. Drakulic, Mallory Drumm, and Alex Lee Williams are going to be on the show to discuss their new film, which was out on October 24th, called Dream Eater. This movie is being released through the horror section. We also have Eli Roth on to discuss this film and the horror section. So it's a good Halloween episode here for you at the Ratio Podcast. And without further delay, let's get to the show. All right, we have an amazing show for you tonight. We have four very talented filmmakers, and we're all gathered here to discuss the haunting and amazing Dream Eater, out on October 24th. Please welcome Drakulic, Mallory Drumm, and Alex Lee Williams. And also for the horror section, we have Mr. Eli Roth. Hello, everybody.
Hey, thank you for having us. How are you?
Thanks for coming on. Eli, I read your thoughts about this movie, and I couldn't agree more. This is one of my favorite first watches in so long, you know. And
yeah,
before we get in deep on the film, I want to know just real briefly, and we're going to talk about the horror section later. How did you get involved with this movie?
Just by chance, someone sent me a link to a TikTok that was by this guy Chuck Shaughnessy, who goes by Your Movie Guy, and he had seen Dream Eater at, I think, the Lovecraft Film Festival, where it won Best Film. And he's like, this movie, demand it come to theaters in your town. Go see Dream Eater. This movie fucking rips. And so I reached out to the guys through Instagram and through the Dream Eater Instagram. And I said, hey, do you have distribution? I'd love to see it. And Alex got back to me right away. And, you know, he said, yeah, no, we wrote it and directed it. And Mallory and I star in it. And I remember it was like a Saturday. They sent me the movie and I watched it. And 90 minutes later, I texted them. I'm like, I want this for the horror section. This is amazing. It had been so long since I'd been like legitimately scared by something, you know? And I think that what they pulled, and then I thought they made this for, I don't know, $1.5 million. They did it for $40,000, which is just can only be done with like passion and like total insanity. So, you know, these guys did it. They got the holy grail of horror, which is a bone-chilling, like a truly, truly scary movie. You know, it's something you can't fake, you can't manufacture it. And the fact that they did it for so little, just on, you know, putting themselves out there, the stuff they did in the film, you know, no actors would do it. They said, yeah, we had to act in it because actors refused to do what was required. And you know, it's incredible what they did in the movie. I really, you know, I remember the first time I watched Paranormal Activity or Blair Witch Project, and this had that feeling where, you know, you're watching something special and it feels really scary and dangerous and well done. And I think the last 15 minutes of this movie, I don't think there's anything scarier that's been put in a theater this year. I think it's unbeatable.
Oh, I so agree. And, you know, this is, you know, let's get to the meat of the film. Now, before we talk about it, it's a found footage film technically, but I think it hits a lot differently than a found footage film in a way. Almost the fucked up places you put the cameras and the how much rehearsal time did you have on site?
Yeah, you know, like we actually did more rehearsals before we got on site at Alex's apartment before we got to the location. Like we were lucky because the location is my parents' cottage. So we knew what the layout was going to be and we knew the geography of the space. So we spent a lot of time before going up there kind of blocking out these scares. But what did come when we were up there, which was a lot more organic, was kind of to what you're saying, Johnny, the placement of the camera. You know, as we were doing the scenes and as we were making our way through the story, we kind of, and when we were in the location, we would work with our DP, Michael Katerina, to kind of figure out, you know what, let's place the camera here. Or as the story goes, you start to see that Mallory places the camera almost further and further away from Alex as well, which I think also speaks to a lot of what the character is going through. And, we kind of actually like dub it available footage rather than found footage, because there's obviously some sources that we use that isn't Mallory's camera, for instance. But yeah, we definitely did a lot of rehearsals beforehand, but then would also naturally find new places to put the camera that was very much narrative driven once we got to the location.
Yeah, to that point, with the available footage, there was, obviously it's a very effective way to start a movie with a 911 call. But for us, it was to now really prime the audience of, okay, what are you watching? Because if this is found footage, quote unquote, right, and edited in camera, then where's this coming from? So we really wanted to get the audience right away going, okay, what's this all about? And then as the movie starts to unfold and the narrative starts to kind of reveal itself, then you start to understand, okay, now I'm watching something that's a little bit different.
When you hear the 911 call and then you see the isolation that they're going to take a vacation in, you're like, something heavy has gone down for this guy to want to get this far away. Parasomnia sounds terrifying. Did you have to research a lot of this, or just going to find some of the more frightening cases or more extreme cases?
Oh yeah, it's the great thing. We always heavily research whatever topic, whatever subject we're now kind of creating our premise around. And with parasomnia, it was one of those things that very early on in the research, like one of the first things they tell you to do is you document everything to now show to your sleep clinician so that they can start to diagnose what's going on. And then when we started looking into the inherent threats that people who are sleepwalking are faced with, we were like, this is the perfect kind of starting point for each of our gags to get progressively worse and worse with each subsequent night. So it's one of those things where, you almost at first didn't need to go into the extreme research, because then when you start going into the extreme research about violent parasomnia, I think some of the first earliest documented cases are from the mid 1800s, where people are murdering their bed partners because they think someone is breaking into their house. And it's all in their sleep. There was a famous case in Canada where a guy had driven to his in-laws' place in his sleep. He got off because they proved he was asleep. He had driven to his in-laws' place across town, got out, murdered them, got back in his car, drove back home, and went to bed. And this guy got off. And so to the whole point, yeah, the extreme cases, all of a sudden you start to go, okay, cool. These are the limits, to which these real cases can go. But even when you start looking at just the fundamentals of parasomnia and of sleepwalking, there's so much to play with there, and then start to throw your own horror twist on.
Right. And I want to keep this spoiler free. Alex, how fucked up was it to get into this mindset to play this character?
It was, when you live and breathe it for as long as we did, we were writing the script for months and months and practicing and, blocking it out in my living room. So you kind of felt like you're prepping yourself for months. Once Mallory and I knew that we were going to act in it, because we only acted out of necessity because we knew we couldn't afford actor members in Canada, so professional actors to do the movie. No one would do it because the things in it were just a little bit too much for them for the amount of money that we had. So for us, it was like, okay, we knew that Mallory and I had to step into these roles, and when we did that, the script was way more tame at that time because we knew we couldn't afford to do certain things. But even under actor ruling, we were like, oh shit, we can't afford to do like anything. Like everything is considered as soon as they go outside, this is considered a stunt. So we then took the script and we're like, okay, let's amp it the fuck up. Let every single night, like what's the while still being faithful to the story, what is the maximum threshold that we can push this character to? And that's where we took it. So in terms of getting into the mindset of it, it was like, oh, I think I was in the mindset of just having to do this months before we even went to camera. And then as soon as we were on set and there, we used our own money to make this film. So it was like, go for broke, pretend that you have no other chance to make another movie. Don't leave anything on the table. Just go for it and make a movie that you want to see first and foremost. Think from the perspective of yourself as an audience member, because if you like it, if you look back at the footage, if you look back at the take that you just did and you like it, you know that someone else out there will too. And that's that adrenaline that just kept feeding us throughout the entire 9-day shoot.
And you can feel the energy all through it. And Mallory, have you're the caregiver, you're the one that's trying to keep it all together, and it's heartbreaking. how taxing was it for you to go to those places?
Yeah, it's funny. I think like for me, we shot this film in 9 days. We did everything chronologically, and just being the writers, the directors, the producers, the editors on the film, there was just a natural exhaustion that was happening while we were up there. And it was very much like, okay, let's lean into that. And for me, like I've never acted before. This was my very first time. And so it was kind of just like leaning in a little bit onto like personal experiences while also, like I said, just really leaning into what I was naturally feeling, especially with the exhaustion of just like making a movie. And honestly, getting to act alongside Alex and just seeing how amazing his performances were, kind of to what he was saying, I was like, oh, I can't fuck this up. I can't let these guys down. So I'm just going to go for broke. I'm going to do my very, very best and just hope it plays off well on camera.
Well, it comes through so real, and I'm very interested. This is your second feature with Blind Luck Pictures, and you're a directing trio. Could you just give us a peek at how that creative process works?
I think with us, it's because we're all best friends and we work every single day together, and so we've developed our own language when it comes to how we create together, and we all have vastly different tastes. A lot of people think that like, well, they see the same thing and we don't, and that's what makes it more interesting, because once you're in that collaborative mode and you're creating, you actually realize that the most exciting parts of this is when something new comes out. You imagine your movie over and over again, and you're like meticulous about like, okay, this is the way that I want to do it. But then when you run it through your collaborative partner, it becomes something new and it becomes something even better. You're like, oh my God, I never even thought of it. That's fucking way better. And so for us, we write everything together. When we're on set, we're discussing everything together and directing together. We're editing together. We're all taking in each other's tastes, because my idea becomes better when it goes through Mallory and Jay. Jay's idea becomes better when it goes through Mallory and I. And Mallory's idea is better when it goes through the two of us. And that sort of gives us this energy that's just so exciting when one person's like unsure, the other two can pick them up and be like, okay, let's show you why it works. Or that one person that's unsold on an idea, it's like, well, what if we tweak it this way? And then it's like, oh shit, you're totally right. So it's a lot of just discussion. And especially when you're collaborating, communication is king. And the three of us have just learned how to communicate together. And it's one of those things where we're like, oh, we can't imagine doing it without the other two.
It's also easy as a producer to work with people that, just want the best idea and they have no ego about where it comes from. And best idea wins. And I always find that's the best. Any director that I know that's successful has that ethos on set. Like if a grip comes, you're not soliciting ideas, but if sometimes ideas just pop out. Someone says it as a joke and you go, wait a minute, that's a really good idea. So, I think what these guys do is, they are definitely a team that likes to fix it in prep. This movie is shot in 9 days, but they're preparing for months, and their post-production of the sound is meticulous. They work so hard. They're like, that's what I saw myself in them, is that when I was making Cabin Fever and I was broke and in debt and 30 years old and I couldn't pay my $700 a month rent, and I'm borrowing money from my parents just to help pay rent so I can keep editing for free, doing it on favors. That's how they were prepping this movie and shooting this movie. And so then not only do they prep it, they have to shoot it, they have to act. And then Alex has to act as waking Alex and then act as sleepwalker Alex, who's doing 3 different jobs. And then they would shoot all night. They would, after every take, they would redo the sound and do their own Foley. So they had clean sound effects because they're also directors. They know they're going to need it. They're not going to replicate the sound and noises. They said they wanted it like The Terror with the creaking ship, the noises that house made. You couldn't, you're up there for 9 days. You better get it. So they're recording their sound. Then they would go at wrap, which is 5 a.m, they'd edit. So it's like this wasn't even planned to be in the snow. This was supposed to be in the fall. And this, they had to push because they're DP. And then suddenly you're in, a classic Canadian winter horror movie like My Bloody Valentine or Black Christmas. Like these are people that, like what the Simpsons called the Christotunity. If it's not like, oh no, we're snowed in, they go, whoa, we have an opportunity to make, and even more, like now we can do The Shining. They're like, they suddenly just see they don't see limitations. They see possibilities. And I think that's the three of them knowing they have each other, trusting each other, and no, there's no egos. It's best idea wins. It's really been a pleasure to work with them and to watch them work. And one of those examples was I watched the movie and I loved it, but I felt like it was like 99% there, but the last scene fell short for me. So I talked to them and I was like, what was that? What was your original ending? Was that always your ending? They go, no, or we actually wanted to do this. And they told me what the original ending was. I was like, why didn't you do it? And they're like, oh, someone talked us out of it. And I'm like, man, the one time you guys didn't trust your creative instincts and listen to an outsider, it fucked the movie. I go, what if we went back and found an even better version of that? So they came in with a new ending, and I got to be on set with them, watching them shoot that. And really, it is like it's there's three of them, but there's one vision, and they all just work together to support it. It's very rare, but it's one of the reasons the movie is so great. Is you can they don't miss anything, like from the Filthy Billy Myers song to the sound design to the creak in the house. Like every frame of the film is an opportunity for creativity and to build a world, and that's why it looks so incredible. But they're just so amazingly talented. But it's like they know that the three of them together can create something they could never come up with on their own.
Jay, Alex, or Mallory, how inspiring was that to have Eli so stoked about your film and giving his energy to it?
Oh man, honestly, dude, it's hard to believe we're here right now in this moment, and it's been a few months of this, and we've said it before. Eli's a mentor in every sense of the word. Like what this man has going on, it's insane when you hear his schedule, but he's so generous with his time and he's so generous with his ideas. Like he said, he showed up to set for us reshooting this ending, it was one of those show face, show faith moments. And, every step of the way, he's the real fucking deal, man. He talks about championing indie films and championing indie filmmakers, and that's what he does. It's so rare you never know what it's going to be like working with your idols, but it's so rare we find, at least at this point in our career, to find someone in this industry who is constantly getting you to believe in your own creative ideas, to follow your instincts and go for broke and put it up on screen, because these pictures are going to outlive us all. So it's been one of these things where right from the get-go, it was surreal. And to this day, we've spent quite a bit of time with Eli. We've been blessed in that way. And every time we're working with him, every time we're doing an interview, every day that we're with Eli, we get better as filmmakers and we get better as creators. And honestly, it's one of these dreams that you're like, I don't want to wake up from. You know what I mean?
I love that. I love the energy of that. And there was this magic growing up with horror and growing up with the video and the cable. And there were movies that you probably wouldn't get to see now. And I felt like for years that magic was kind of fading. And then Quentin comes along, Eli comes along, and they say, no, motherfuckers, we're bringing new magic to the game. And we're going to redefine magic. And I think even Eli would have to be surprised at how amazing that influence has flourished now with this new generation of filmmakers. Just so many badass things going on with horror. And Eli, I got to give you a lot of that credit for fostering that.
Well, look, that's one of the reasons, thank you, I did History of Horror, was because I was like, I want to talk about Pieces. I want to talk about Cannibal Holocaust. I got so tired of people dismissing these movies as trash and it's a piece of shit. And it's like, yeah, if you're comparing it to Lawrence of Arabia, you're going to have that opinion. But if you're going, is this one of the most insane, fun Spanish slasher movies? Like, what the fuck is this movie? You're going to have the best time you've ever had watching a movie. And I always say to that to people, I was like, you guys, you put yourself above the movies and you trash them. And then you sit there and you watch it and you can't take your eyes off the screen. And 40 years later, it's still thrilling audiences. So what does that say? Why are you ashamed of liking a movie that you're dismissing? Let's see you do better than Wapikar Simone. I don't think you're going to. And, these people shot on 35 millimeter and they had to get it in camera. And it is great. Look, the way Quentin championed me and the two of us championed directors like Fulci, and that was Bob Murawski too, and Sage Stallone. And, they rescued these negatives. And Bill Lustig was the one who found all those Argento films and started putting them out on Blu-ray. So, what's great is that there was a mystery to these movies. You didn't understand because the directors, in order to get them distributed, had to change their name. They had to sacrifice their identity. So you didn't know it was Sergio Martino. Or you watched, Witchery or Ghost House. You didn't know that was Umberto Lenzi. It's directed by Humbert Humphreys. Like, part of the survival mechanism was they had to change their names 35 times. So they themselves sacrificed their identity. A lot of them, not Argento, but most of them did. Um, and so I love these movies, and there was always just a mystery and a danger about like, who were these people that made them? So also I love them. And you know, when you can put them in a historical context of how did they do that? How did they pull it off? And that's what I love about Quentin. He's like, don't put yourself above the movie. Don't think I'm better than this. Don't look down on it. You know, don't look at it at the end of your nose like, ha ha, look at what a piece of shit. I'm going to laugh at the movie. Just let yourself enjoy it, because then you're missing what's great about it. Like they love, you know, Slithis. You listen to video archives and they talk about movies that were made for 60 or $100,000 and how now that this is the only record of Venice that exists at the time. It's the indie movies. You know, when you really see what it was like when I watched Basket Case and you see what Times Square was right, or Scavolino's Nightmares in a Damaged Brain, and you see that sleazy Times Square, that New York Ripper maniac, that Times Square. I grew up in Boston, so Times Square was a dangerous place when I first went there. And I miss that danger. And you don't see it anymore except in, you know, in the horror movies, which were too low budget to change any of the names in the marquee. So, you know, I love these movies. And I think what's cool is I always believed that the audience for horror was as big as comics. And the truth is, you know, people are getting most of their entertainment on their phone. But the one thing you cannot get on your phone is the same adrenaline rush. You know, that adrenaline fix, you can't get that on a phone. You can't get terrified on a TV or an iPad. When you go see this movie in a theater, there is, you know, we're adrenaline junkies as horror fans. There is nothing that can replicate that. It's like why you go to Coachella or Burning Man. You have to be there. So whether it's Final Destination 5 or Weapons or Conjuring, whatever it is, people want to be scared. We are junkies we're chasing that dragon of being in that theater, being absolutely terrified, scared to know what happens next. It's so fun and it's so rare. It is so rare that a movie comes along that truly does that to you. So I wanted to give everybody that opportunity to have one of the greatest nights of their life. Like these guys deserve it. This movie deserves to be in a theater, and all the fans deserve a great night at the movies, because I can mark my life by the great horror movies I saw in theaters. It's how I have like the markers of my existence. It's the movies I made and the movies I saw in a theater. I don't always remember everything I saw on cable or everything that I saw on a VHS tape, but seeing a movie in a theater, when you get scared like that, there's nothing like it. So I wanted to give everyone that experience. And the truth is they did all the work. They deserve it.
So with the release this weekend, you know, are you guys going to be at the premiere? Are you going to be at any premieres or anything?
Yeah, well, we're from Toronto, Canada, so we're going to be in our hometown. We've got a few independent theaters that are playing it here that are really near and dear to our heart on opposite ends of the city. So we'll be able to watch it in the West End, and then we're going to travel to the East End of the city to watch it there as well. And so we're just so excited. You know, I think when we set out to make this movie, at the very most, we were like, okay, you know, hopefully it'll get on a streaming site and then people will see it that way. And so now having the opportunity to put it out into theaters and getting to watch it with a group of people, like where it was really meant to be seen and heard, is just, it's a dream come true. And like, we are just so excited.
It's one of these things like being on, you know, so close to the eve of release. It's one of these moments, you know, Mallory always called this film the little movie that could. And to see, you know, what this movie has done with the help of Eli Roth and the horror section, you know, because as we were saying that Eli's a mentor, the horror section, man, the whole team, they're these people that come in and they believe in you and they want your input. They genuinely want to hear your ideas on marketing. They're the experts in all of these fields, but they're actually coming to us because they go, well, at the end of the day, it's your movie, you know? So to have that support and to, you know, be so close to the release, it's one of these things that's, I don't know, it's a feeling that can't really be quantified. And it's one of these, you know, people keep saying like, you know, enjoy this moment, like take a second to take those mental pictures to kind of, you know, imbue them in yourself so that you kind of carry them forward. And it's been one of those things. It's been a whirlwind, but the moments that we have, like right now, it's like, remember this moment, remember where we are here, because it's truly, this has been absolutely in every sense of the word, childhood dreams come true through and through.
I love it. I love everything about that. Eli, what's next with the horror section for the horror section?
I'm in post on Ice Cream Man, my new
Jesus
movie.
Christ. I'm so
Fucking
excited.
crazy. I know we announced the company in March. Did the fundraising until May. Released Jimmy and Stiggs. That's out now on home video. We got Dream Eater in theaters. And I'm in post on Ice Cream Man. So we're going to pick our release date next year. We're looking at a few different options. But yeah, and then I'm also writing 2 other movies to shoot them back to back. So I'm a little busy.
Yeah, and then is there any more plans for any kind of documentary projects like the history of horror?
Yeah, there is. Like Finn, there's a documentary that I just submitted that I produced and narrate, and I'm in. I don't want to say too much about it, but it's similar in terms of like horrific subject matter, but also one that I think people will be very interested. Like with the sharks, like my doc version of Jaws, except you're sympathetic to the shark. This is another one like that that I produced. It's going to be coming out. I'm not sure when it's coming out. We're submitting to festivals right now because I think it's going to need a festival push for people to see it. So yes.
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming on the Ratio podcast. It's such a delight to have you all, and I'm so excited about this movie, Dream Eater, and it comes out October 24th. What's the best place for folks to get in touch with you all?
Yeah, so we'll go for it, Al. No.
You can reach us at Blind Like Pictures, at Dream Eater Movie, and you can get tickets to the film at dreameatermovie.com.
Yes. And with me, you just go to Horror Section Studios. It's the same handle on all socials. That's the best place.
Right on. I want to thank all my guests for coming on today, Mr. Jay Drakulic, Mallory Drumm, and Alex Lee Williams, and also Eli Roth. Support the horror section. Support this amazing movie, Dream Eater, out in theaters on October 24th. And stay switched on. Thanks for tuning in. Follow us on the socials. We appreciate all the wonderful messages we've been getting, all the great feedback from the Stephen McDonald interview. So stay switched on, and we'll talk to you soon.